Tennessee beats Kentucky at Kroger Field 56-34. Joey Aguilar shines like a diamond. However, Tennessee's defensive issues begs the question, is it time for a change? Oh, we're going to talk about this. Welcome to the Vols Patriot Podcast. I am your host, the Vols Patriot, Patriot of the Volunteer Nation, and my co-host, Jay Mello. This podcast is for the people, by the people, specifically Tennessee football, but also college football as a whole. We're going to cover weekly updates, pre-game and post-game reviews, in-game specifics, and of course, hot takes. We will talk about things that most sports podcasts are afraid to discuss. You'll hear it here and only here on the Vols Patriot Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, go Big Orange, go Vols. Good morning, Vol faithful. Tennessee takes care of business against Kentucky, but let's just be realistic, guys. Defense did not make us look good in this one. However, Joey Aguilar shines in this game against Kentucky. This was a gotta-have-it game. If you want to make it to the playoffs, you have to have a win every week going forward. There's no other option. You have to beat Kentucky. You have to beat Oklahoma. You have to beat New Mexico. You have to beat Florida. You have to beat Vanderbilt. You got to win those games. You don't win, you don't go to the playoffs. Simple as that. So you go on the road against Kentucky. We know in the past this game has been a dogfight. Just what it is. I don't know why, whether Kentucky's good or not good. It's been a dogfight. This was not a dogfight. This was a straight belt-to-butt beatdown. But then your defense just gives Kentucky just a little hope. Just a little hope to believe, like, maybe we can do something. I said it last week, and I have to be held accountable for my words. It would be, of course, Tennessee to allow this to happen. But I said that Kentucky's offense was doo-doo. Straight doo-doo, all right? And what they do, all they did was come out here, and I don't know how much yards of offense they had. But quarterback play, he threw for over 300 yards, whatever he did, 5 touchdowns of some sort, and a pick. Are you serious? Defense, I'm talking to you. I don't know who to blame. Do I blame Tim Banks? Do I blame the coordinators? Do I blame the players? Who do you blame in a game where they give up so many yards to a doo-doo offense? They didn't look doo-doo against us. No, they look relatively good. They look like an offense that should win games. But really, that's our defense just being out of position, not making tackles, not setting the edge, not taking on blocks, and just manning the guy in front of them. And I know a lot of people have said, well, that's the players. You know what? It is the players. And it's also the coaches. Somebody's going to have to coach these guys up on technique. Someone's going to have to teach these guys the importance of tackling, the importance of angles, the importance of taking on blocks and being physical. This is a gladiator sport. When I played football, we were taught to drive through the guy in front of you. We were taught to, take on blocks and collapse running lanes, take angles, be aggressive. I've seen other teams do it. I've seen teams that I think aren't that good do it. Why can't our guys do it? It's a combination of players, but it's definitely coaching. Who's allowed these guys to play the way they're playing now, to continue to have mental lapses in crucial games? If our offense doesn't go off in this game, we're in a dogfight with Kentucky that we might actually lose. And I'm losing my mind at that point. Fortunately, Joey Swag happened, and Chris Brazel happened, and so did the rest of the offense. So we're not having that conversation. But there's immediate need for concern. And ultimately, Tim Banks is to blame because you're the defensive coordinator. This is your baby. So somebody's got to do something. Someone has to be held accountable and make a change. Or you can forget about the playoffs. You think Oklahoma is going to be an easy game because we put up 56 points against Kentucky? Their defense is pretty legit. What happens when they shut down our offense for whatever reason? Make a play. We do some uncharacteristic stuff and we just don't show up in that game. Are we going to rely on our defense to make plays and get off the field in crucial downs? I don't know. I don't know, guys. So just a quick side note. How about Rodarius Jackson and Ethan Davis returning to the field of play for Tennessee? It kind of went under radar, but I think them returning helped our depth issue that we were having in previous games. You look at the Alabama game, and there was a lack of focus for our guys in the second half. Our receivers were dropping stuff. Obviously, we talked about this at length with Vol Nation. He brought it to my attention that there was a depth issue. We don't, Rodarius Jackson and Trey Smith Jr. both injured. So you have Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley, Chris Brazel all playing 60 minutes of football, right? No backups, no one that you can really trust to go out there and make a difference. And then the same thing with Miles Ketzelman. Ethan Davis returning allows him to, come off the field and get a breather. Sure, you're going to have some of the freshmen get on there, but the brunt of the plays can still be ran through an Ethan Davis. And then both of them on the field, Ethan Davis and Miles Ketzelman, make a huge difference. I think that's another reason why our offense looks so explosive in this game against Kentucky. And lastly, how about Josh Heupel finally doing what I've asked him to do from the jump? Put your foot on your opponent's neck and don't let up. And that's all Josh Heupel did. He just said, hey, Joey Swag, light them up like a firecracker. And that's what he did. The fun never stopped. The fun never stopped. Our defense, however, I believe that Josh Heupel has finally understood where our defense is. And he's like, we're just going to score points. And then we're going to control the clock. And then when it feels like they're doing too much, we're just going to keep scoring some more points. That's all I'm saying. You see where our defense is right now. You're going to have to play that way and make them quit. Make them quit. When you play conservative because you're up 17 points, you find yourself in a situation like Mississippi State did, up 17 points against Texas, and they blew it. Oh, they lost that game at home. Oh, my goodness. That's another conversation, though. Oh.
I don't think Josh Heupel had much of a choice but to stay aggressive in this game. Normally in a game that is that high scoring, you're able to pull your quarterback out and let your backups get some play time in. But because your defense kept giving up points, Josh Heupel had to keep Joey Aguilar out there to keep scoring points. I think he knew you could not be in a scenario on the road where all of a sudden this Kentucky team is coming back, like they were playing against Texas. I think Josh Heupel knew that. And so he kept Joey on the field the whole time, which is great for Joey and great for Joey's stats. But they played against an offense who, up until this game, their quarterback was averaging roughly 100 to 150 yards per game. And then all of a sudden, this game, he's throwing for 300 plus yards. How is that even possible? The only thing that makes that possible is Tennessee's defense was so bad. And it makes me wonder, is it a coaching problem or is it a talent problem? It's hard to determine what is what because there were times where Tennessee was in another 3rd and bank scenario. And I don't know whatever play that is that Tim Banks likes to call, that 3rd and banks almost always results in a first down for the opposing team. But then there were times where you had players like Boo Carter, and he may not be the best example considering what we know about preseason drama with him, but then you had moments where he just gave up. He just stopped running after the Kentucky player. But then you had the Kentucky fumble that went on for an eternity, and Boo Carter makes a great hit, to allow that fumble to continue for another eternity. So it's hard to determine whether it's a coaching problem or a talent problem or a combination of the two. I am beginning to wonder if there's not a mental block from the players themselves toward their coach because their coach is not supporting them in the way that he should.
Well, tell us how you really feel, Jay. I mean, tell us how you really feel.
I'm just saying.
So since we're on the subject of defense, let's talk about our main topic, which is it time for Tim Banks to part ways with Tennessee?
I vote yes.
That was the quickest response. I didn't get a chance to even finish what I was going to say. Jay's like, nope, he's got to go.
Listen, I'm on the fire everybody train since we just got rid of Billy Napier, and that seemed to be the trend this year.
By the way, everyone tune in for Gator Bites because we're going to have an interesting take on Florida football and the future of where they're going to be going and maybe their coaching. But moving along, does Tim Banks need to go? And Jay Mello says yes, and this is what I'm going to say. I have been on the get rid of Tim Banks for a minute because I noticed something last year. With such a talented roster, we still faced moments of incompetence where it seemed like our defensive structure was poor. Like we did things that compromised us. And I just mean the play call in general. There were play calls where it's like, why are we doing this? You know, we're putting our defense in a bad position. And now that, you know, we don't have those same guys, right? I'll say Rodney Gardner, the D-line, they kind of protected us and shielded us from a lot of mistakes we had throughout our defense. They disguised, this is what people have been saying, disguised the weaknesses within our defense. I think our secondary was relatively solid, and I think they would have been solid had Jermod McCoy not gotten injured. When he did, it happened, so be it. You still got to coach these guys up, like you were saying before, and get these guys ready to get on the field and be productive members of this defense. I don't think that happened.
So you mentioned that the D-line from last year kind of disguised any issues with the rest of the defense. And last year, Tim Banks was highly regarded as, you know, one of the best defensive coordinators in the country, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden this year, there's a problem. But there was also some problems years prior. Like you said, the guys from last year, they were stars, essentially. They were top-notch players. So to me, that says that Tim Banks is hiding behind his players.
Whoa, Jay. All right. I want everyone to understand that Jay Mello's thoughts don't reflect my own. But I will say this. That is a strong, she's looking at me crazy right now. That is a strong accusation. And it's one that we actually should reflect on. Is Tim Banks hiding behind his, defensive talent? Not necessarily the other way around where the players are learning technique, learning positioning, alignment, as they like to say, alignment, assignment, and execution. Well, maybe that's happening on offense because we can clearly see that Josh Heupel has, and people can say what they want, whether they show up or not. When they're on, they are elite. It doesn't matter who you are. At the end of the day, they put up points. You look on the other side of the ball, my point being, our defense has really only done that 1 year. Well, they've done that sporadically throughout the years under Tim Banks, and the excuse was talent. Okay, fine. Last year, there was not a talent drop. We had an abundance of talent. And you go, okay, well, we restocked the cupboards, and it's not going to look the same, but we should still be elite. Well, you know what, guys? We might be missing a player or two, and I don't mean from injury. I mean from recruiting standpoint that really make this defense pop. The issue is coaching. The issue is we're not, and when I say we, I mean our defensive coaches, i.e. Tim Banks, because he's responsible for them all. We're not getting our guys in a position to see what they need to see and to react the way they need to react. My point being is this, Jay. I think that's a very interesting topic that you brought up. Is Tim Banks actually hiding behind him? I mean, maybe. I won't say that he's hiding behind it. And for all we know, it could be something that just happens to be what it is. Not that he's actually doing it. I don't think Tim Banks is hiding behind the players. But the way the games have gone, it seems like the players, the talent that is, has disguised the fact that he either doesn't have the secondary players, because I think, credit to the Blue Chip Breakdown, Bull brought up a point saying, hey, there are some individuals, and I'm not going to say the names, but there are some individuals that just can't play the corner position that are out there, and they look lost. And you know what? I hyped up Boo Carter and said this guy can play the position for us. And maybe he can. Maybe he can play it. But as you said, this off-field, preseason situation, how did that affect him and his progression now? Because what I've been watching is around the line of scrimmage, if he sees it, he can go out there and make the plays. Something not like Eric Berry, or I will say this, not exactly like Eric Berry, but similar to when he hits you, you went the other way. Boo Carter can do that for you. But, oh, my goodness, in a one-on-one situation, man-to-man, he got smoked. He got smoked by the wide receiver, and the dude beat him off the line. And technique as a corner, I know for a fact you're taught to jam the receivers or disrupt the route, throw his timing off so the quarterback can't just go, oh, he's right where I need him to be and throw the ball. No, that can't happen. Especially if you know you're not faster than the guy, but you're stronger. Boo Carter should be blowing up the play just by jamming the receiver and throwing him off. That way, even if he was to get around him, the timing's off, and your D-line that we so famously believe in can get there. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of all the things, but Boo Carter, one of the main reasons and reflection of either poor coaching or just a bad player, as of right now. He's just not playing well.
I genuinely think it's poor coaching. It seems to me as if they are bringing in these players and expecting them to play this playbook without making any sort of adjustment to who these particular players are. There's only one James Pierce. There's only one Norman Lott. There's only one Arion Carter. There's only one Joshua Josephs. You literally cannot recreate that exact same player year after year after year. Each player is an individual, and you have to play to their strengths, and you have to accommodate for their weaknesses. And it's almost like Tim Banks, and I keep saying Tim Banks, but I'm also like talking about the defensive coaching staff as a whole. But like you said, Tim Banks is their leader, and he's not doing what needs to be done, or he's not leading the way he should be.
He's not holding them accountable. His staff.
Yeah, and so you have to adjust your playbook to some degree to what strengths and what weaknesses you have year in and year out. You cannot run the same defense of last year when you no longer have last year's players. You have to adjust accordingly. And on that note, you don't have the defense that you have last year because you were not prepared and you did not come up with a succession plan. Like I've said in prior episodes, any good manager knows that they have to have a succession plan for each of their employees as well as themselves. Like, who are you going to put in position behind these leaders that you have today so that you don't have a hole tomorrow? Because these guys graduate, they transfer to another school, they get drafted into the NFL, they get injured, whatever the case may be. Your backups should be ready to step in and fill those shoes immediately. Not 3 weeks from now, not next year. Those guys should be ready right out of the gate. And if you're not recruiting that way and you're not teaching that way, that's on you.
I mean, Jay, you couldn't have said it any better. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. And once again, another valuable point to make you have to think, all right, as a head coach, do we have a developing issue at this point? As a head coach at Tennessee, I should have the skills, I should have the ability to look at each individual player and go, okay, I understand this is his strengths, this is his weakness. He's been here a couple years. How can I develop that? How can I turn him into the best version of himself? I think that's a great point. You're right. There is only one James Pierce. There is only one Norman Lott. There is only one Omar Thomas. So when you look at these guys, you have Moy Jackson, right? How can I get the best out of him? How can I understand his strengths and bring the best? So I wonder, is it a combination of both the development process of both the player and the coaching? Is it really just the player? Is it really just the coach? I mean, I don't know what to say. It's got to be, ultimately, it's got to fall in the coach's hands because you're right. You recruited the guy. And then if you see that, oh, wow, he just doesn't develop, he got to go. He got to go. Or at the end of the day, I don't know what to do with him. He's got all this talent, but I don't know how to develop him. Now that's a you problem. So we got to figure out what it is. And ultimately, that's a Tim Banks issue. Now, I like to believe our coordinators know what they're doing because, I mean, we see that Rodney Gardner stands out. And I like to say that we've had great individual players learn, and so they're learning somehow. That means the coordinators are doing something. Obviously, the biggest issue being our secondary, and that's what Tim Banks is really getting in trouble for with fans and so on.
Third and Banks, I'm telling you, it's a problem.
Well, third and Banks is more of a play call. Now, it may be a play call because of the personnel he has, but, I mean, there's no reason we should be leaving the middle of the field wide open or dropping 20 yards back when the line of scrimmage is 5 yards away. That I don't understand.
Then you need to be figuring it out after the first, second, maybe the third time that it's unsuccessful. Instead, it's repeated. We're on what? Week 9 now, and you're still running the same play and you're still getting the same results. Well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's true. What's happening.
You're right. That is the definition of insanity. And yes, Tim Banks is doing the same thing over and over again.
So, expecting different results. There aren't any.
Look at me trying to defend Tim Banks' honor out here. You don't make it easy for me, buddy. Look, all I'm going to say is this. There needs to be a change somewhere. We have to figure something out. We have to look at our defense and say, this is what we're struggling with. Can we find the keys to, and I mean, it's the middle of the season. It's kind of already too late. So this is more of like a down the road type of thing. This is more like for preparing for next year, not giving up on this season, because what you do now will affect what happens in the postseason, which is the playoffs, if we can get there. And then going forward, we can change the narrative of our defense, not just the defensive line being strong, but our secondary being, just as strong. And you don't have to have, everyone goes, oh, you got to have 5 and 4 stars. I'm not going to lie to you guys. A good recruiter can see a hidden talent in a 2-star or a 3-star. I'm not saying you got, and understand this, I'm not saying let's go out there and just focus on 2 stars and 3 stars. What I'm saying is a good recruiter can find a gem just about anywhere and within someone that has that ability. And then it's up to a coach to develop. So you have to have one or two things. At Tennessee, we have to have someone that can find them and someone that can develop them. And it's not happening in the secondary for whatever reasons. We're beating a dead horse at this point because we've said the problems.
I know. I am so tired of talking about Tim Banks.
So the thing is this. Does Tim Banks need to go? The facts are pointing towards yes. There's too many issues amongst our defense that are so base. And for a 5th-year coach, I think this is his 5th year, we can't be having him. So something needs to happen. Either he's got to go or the position coaches have to go. Someone's got to go. But the big thing is this. The question has been brought up. Who would you bring in as a defensive coordinator? Who would you bring in if you got rid of Tim Banks? And that's the question. Like, oh, well, if you can't think of someone. I mean, there's so many people out there that aren't coaching right now that are. I'm going to just throw this up. What about Will Muschamp? I mean, he seemed to have a relatively good defense. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a Will Muschamp fan. I'm just saying there are guys out there that I think they had great defenses. You look at Mason from Vanderbilt. His defense was pretty solid. I mean, Vanderbilt literally was in all these games against us and other teams, and you're like, wow, if they had an offense, they could do something. So we can't say there aren't guys out there. And I'm just giving an example. I am not saying these particular guys. I believe they're out there. The question is, what are you willing to do to bring them here? Are you willing to step on toes to get rid of a Tim Banks? Because I think he's kind of liked amongst individuals, maybe within the program. I'm not sure. I'm not there. Maybe he's not liked. Maybe Josh Heupel likes him. Is Josh Heupel willing to ultimately make the big sacrifice, get rid of Tim Banks, and bring somebody in that is a proven defensive coordinator when it matters the most? And I think at this point, with an elite offense that you have, you can keep playing hopefully the refs won't rob us when we need it the most. We can keep playing hopefully our offense is always going to be elite. I mean, Josh Heupel has proven he can take someone in that's, a 3 or 4, I'll say 3-star quarterback and turn him into a gem if he has it within him. Joey had it within him, has it within him. Hendon Hooker had it within him. Nico and Joe Milton, we're not going to talk about it. But for the most part, he's the quarterback whisperer. His offense has proven to be what we want it to be. Defense, only 50% of it operates. Only 50% operates. So, yeah, I think Tim Banks has got to go. I hate to say it. I would love for Tim Banks to prove us wrong, and it's just too inconsistent. And I think you're going to have to put up some dollars and go get a defensive coordinator. That's the difference between us being elite, guys. we talk about we're elite. We're not as elite as we want to be. We're probably only 50% elite, and that's sometimes, guys, and I mean that offensively. You're going to have to go out and get somebody if you want to win championships. That's where we're at. We are right there from being an elite team head to toe and winning championships. Tennessee's right there. So if Tennessee wants to take that step where we can beat Alabama's when we're supposed to, like we're supposed to beat Alabama at Tuscaloosa this year. We had the opportunities. And just a little shot at Alabama fans. Y'all almost lost to South Carolina at South Carolina. I said Tennessee was a better team for a reason. Tennessee was better than Georgia. Tennessee has been better than Alabama. The problem is Tennessee is not being consistent enough to reflect that. It's just the truth. And you can get mad all you want, Alabama fans and Georgia fans, and, oh, y'all are just mad because, we beat you. Yeah, I'm mad that you guys beat us because you're not better than us. We have literally taken the beat yourselves paddle and lined ourselves up for the whooping of a lifetime. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, the point of the matter is, does Tim Banks need to go? Yes, guys, I think he does, but I think it matters how he goes. I think you're going to have to let this season ride. Whatever happens, you're going to have to let this season ride. Even if he does a good job, towards the back end, I think he's still got to go because are we going to start the next season the same way? Oh, man, last year our defense looked pretty good. We expect it. Well, no, those issues that we had before continue on this season. So that's a coaching issue. He's got to go. You got to find someone. You got to go get someone that's proven. And then we'll start winning championships at the end of the day because we'll have the offense and we should, have the defense by then because we're getting the guys in. I think that's just the difference. I know this has been a long segment, guys, but it's a very important piece to Tennessee being successful. Jay, final thoughts.
I think this picture pretty much sums up how I feel about Tennessee's defense.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I seen this photo, I said to myself, "Yep, that poor guy." And he's actually the one shiny moment. He was the bright star in the whole situation, but face down. Anyway, yeah, my take on all this is simply this. Tennessee's defense gave up almost 500 total yards to an offense last week was doo-doo. They don't look doo-doo against us, apparently. Either our defense is doo-doo or, I don't know what happened. An anomaly? You can't make this up. Everyone that plays Tennessee seems to always give their best effort. And then, look at Alabama. Had a great game against Tennessee. Of course, Tennessee didn't help with missing opportunities. Well, Alabama goes on the road to South Carolina and looks straight like doggy do and should have lost this game. And I'm going, this is the Alabama that lost to Florida State. This is the team that Tennessee should have beat last week. It didn't happen. Well, we play Kentucky, and Kentucky has not looked good. Granted, their quarterback has done some things, but, you can see the numbers. Their offense has been terrible. Here we come into Kroger Field, looking to bounce back from a loss to Alabama. Hopefully there goes our defense, giving up all sorts of yards. And, look at this. Their quarterback threw for 330 yards, 5 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. Get the heck out of here. Yeah, my final thoughts for all this is something's got to give, and it better happen at the end of this season. Thank you, Vol Faithful, for tuning in and listening. We appreciate your support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, go Big Orange, go Vols.